She's in the court. Booming Jacksonville is the largest port in northern Florida. Just a short drive north lies the idyllic resort of Amelia Island Plantation. It's one of the favorite stops on the women's tennis tour and has attracted the top players in the world in 1989. The world's #1, Steffi Graf. Last year's winner here, Martina Navratilova. And the Lipton champion, Gabriela Sabatini. Today, it's quarterfinal day of the women's singles of the Bausch & Lomb Championships. Cold, as we told you yesterday, some threatening rain. In fact, they still say there's about 20% chance of rain today. But the Amelia Island Plantation is looking a lot better. It is sunny out there. A match has already been played today. Gabriela Sabatini had a tough one, but she won her match in 3 sets, so she is through. Today it is Steffi Graf against Hana Mandlikova, the match that you will see starting in just moments. Good day to you, everyone. I'm Cliff Drysdale, along with Mary Carrillo. This is our second of 4 days of coverage, and we're going to be with you, of course, until Sunday and the final here at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Now, when we left you yesterday, Steffi Graf, well, she won rather easily. And then Martina Navratilova also, again, rather easily. What you saw yesterday, of course, was Gabriela Sabatini winning. And as I said, she just won a match that finished moments ago. The matchup today, though, is, well, kind of an interesting one. In fact, let's take a look at the draw first, Mary, and just see what we have here left in this championship. And there's the bottom half.
Well, Sabatini just barely got by Angeliki Kanalopoulou, the young Greek player who put up such a stiff performance, finally losing 6-3 in the third. But Sabatini faced someone who played exactly like herself and barely got by today. So she's lucky to be in the semis. The other semi, of course, is an interesting one. Kathy Rinaldi, who's very good on clay, and Martina Navratilova, who has been struggling of late on clay, but I expect that Martina will get by that one. She's looking pretty good. Here's the top half, of course, in Graf and Mandlikova. Well, they've played a bunch of times. Hana won a very big match against Steffi. That was in '86 at the French Open, but that was a couple of years ago, and Graf has gone way up. And, of course, Mandlikova has gone down. And Wiesner and Sanchez, two surprise names, really. Perhaps not Arantxa Sanchez. She's a tough clay quarter. But Judith Wiesner of Austria beat Rochertova. And, of course, she's the one who had beaten the fourth-seeded Soviet here, Natalia Zvereva.
Kind of turns out to be what is going to be a very interesting tournament. Let's take a look at Hana Mandlikova. I'm fascinated by her because there's so many things about her. There's her on-court. She's kind of like an Elena Stasi, isn't she? You know, people say, what talent, and sometimes it was wasted. What about her?
She's kind of like Seve Ballesteros, I think. I mean, a lot of golfers think this guy is the best golfer. He is the most talented, and yet it's frustrating cheering for him because sometimes he does things and he loses, and you just don't really understand why. I think that's sort of what Hana's been like. But part of it is that she's been injured. Part of it is that mentally she's not as strong, perhaps, as you know, the players ahead of her. But she's really good. The last time these two played here was the final in '87, and Graf won that one, and Hana just didn't play well enough. But at the time, Graf was #2. Hana was #3 in the world. Now Hana is down to 17. She missed the whole last half of 1988 to injuries and burnout. She's back now, and she really wants it again.
It'll be interesting to see how well she can do against somebody who can at 19. We call her a legend already, maybe. Let's go down to Fred Stolle at courtside and talk to him about Steffi Graf, who won the Grand Slam last year. Fred?
It's very difficult, Cliff, to compare players from different eras, I guess, as far as Steffi goes. I can go back along with you for about 30 years to Billie Jean King, Margaret Court, followed by Chris Evert, and then Martina Navratilova. They're all great ones, and however, that very well-respected historian Ted Tinling did a computer analysis in a computer tournament with all the greats involved, and who won that one? It was Steffi Graf, and that had Susan Long, Little Mo Connolly in it. So, given the fact that you mentioned Steffi is only 19 years of age, she'll be 20 in June, and she's going to be around for another 10 years. I certainly feel that Steffi Graf is going to go down as one of the legends of our sport.
Thank you, Fred. Interesting, isn't it, at just such a young age to have accomplished all that she has. This is the Bausch & Lomb Championships live from Amelia Island. ESPN's coverage of the Bausch & Lomb Championships is brought to you by the plantation in Florida, which is, I would say, Mary, one of the stops on the tour, wouldn't you, that players really enjoy coming to?
Oh, absolutely. You know, the clay court season has just begun, and of course, everyone is pointing towards the French Open, the second leg of the Grand Slams, and that this is on clay and that it's such a peaceful surrounding, you know, an intimate atmosphere. The players can be relaxed and yet still get really prepped for the French.
She's a historical figure already, just 19 years old. Steffi Graf has done so much in such a short time, and what is more amazing about it is the fact that she is so dominant and hasn't lost a match this year.
She's actually only dropped one set. That was to Chris Evert a couple of weeks ago, the Virginia Sims of Florida. She has been absolutely astonishing. What can you say? 6 Grand Slam titles, including all 4 last year, of course.
And, of course, the first Grand Slam title of this year at the Australian Open. Well, Steffi Graf, as we said, historically has already done so much. Let's take a closer look at her.
Congratulations.
When USTA President Gordon Jorgensen presented Steffi Graf with the 4 jewels of the Grand Slam last September, it was the realization of a dream shared by Steffi and her father, Peter. It is a singular accomplishment, a timeless honor, tennis's most elite club. Membership is limited to only 2 other women, Margaret Court in 1970 and the 18-year-old dynamo Maureen Connolly, who won the Slam in 1953. Connolly is the one that tennis historians compare with Graf. Little Mo's footwork and court speed were so superior that her contemporary rivals were overawed. Graf is the fastest woman ever on a tennis court, and her backhand, once a liability, is now a weapon. Tennis greatness is measured in Grand Slam titles, and Steffi owns them all. She has dominated all of her rivals, and since 1988, she has lost only 3 matches. She is indeed too good. And her success has put her in a category along with all the great champions of the 80s, Larry Bird of the Celtics, Magic Johnson of the Lakers, hockey superstar Wayne Gretzky, and the deadly Mike Tyson. Along with Tyson, Graf is the dominant individual performer in sports today. At 19 years old, she is the premier athlete in women's sports. You wonder sometimes, don't you, whether she understands just how much she's already done. Mary?
Well, she says, you know, she says that she doesn't feel the pressure. That's the best part about her, really. She said she used to feel more pressure in the early years when she had gotten to a bunch of finals. She lost in the finals of her first 6 big tournaments, and finally, then, boom, she won 8 in a row. And she said that's when she felt the pressure.
Hana Mandlikova has had a spotty career. She's 27 years old now, took time off last year, Mary, and this is kind of a comeback period for her. And she's played a lot of tennis so far this year, starting out in Australia.
Remember also that in the last 3 years, Hana is one of just 4 players who's actually beaten Steffi Graf, and Steffi's got a lot of respect, perhaps even a little bit of fear for Hana. All the players do, because that's the kind of player she is. Very, very dangerous.
And we had a chance to talk to her and said to her, well, things are slightly different for her. She's a floater now. And how did she respond to that?
That's what happened in Indiana Wells. I'm walking to the court and Chris is behind me and she said, shoot, I don't like to play you. I said, I don't like you play you either. It was funny. And then I played and I won. So I was like a little fish floating in the draw, but that's how it is. It's nice to have, you know, that people still think I'm a top player, even if I'm, whatever, 16 on the computer ranking, 17.
You know what a floater means is the fact that she's not ranked as high as she was, so she doesn't get seeded as high. That means that she's floating in the draw and that she'll play against a seeded player a lot sooner than she would if she were seeded highly, and that, of course, makes it tough on those who have to play her. This is a quarterfinal round match. Joyce Siegel is in the chair for this match, and she's playing against the #1 seed, and this is the quarterfinal. So if she was seeded, for example, number 3 or 4, she could not meet Steffi Graf until the semifinals.
It's amazing how that happens at tournaments when you have somebody that is that good as a floater in the draw. The top seeds or the first 6 or 7 seeds, they're the first. You're going to have a look at the draw, and the first name you look for is not who's seeded. Where's Mandlikova? Which part of the draw is she in?
You used to do that with a few players.
Oh,
probably,
yeah.
Fred, in your time.
Definitely. Well, nowadays they only seeded 8 players as well, so there are a lot more what we call floaters. As you said, they're in the draw, and that's made for some great first rounds at the major tournaments like the French or Wimbledon, anywhere like that. Now they seed a lot more players, of course.
Yeah, 16 in this field, which I felt was a little too many. 64 draw here, although the top 8 seeds got off a bye, so a few less than a full 64. But nevertheless, in order to win this championship, you wouldn't have to win 6 matches unless you get a bye.
As you see, there is a win there, and it was a big one, the 86 French Open, where Hana was able to beat Steffi. But again, that was a couple of years ago when Steffi had very much strictly a slice backhand. Of course, not only has her backhand improved, but her serve, her volley, just everywhere. The last time they met, was just a couple of weeks ago at the U.S. hard courts, and there Steffi prevailed, but it was a 7-6, 6-3 affair. So again, Graf knows that this could be tough.
That score there, though, Mary, that 86 score was 2-6, 7-6, 6-1. That's when Steffi was just starting to get into things on the tour, and it was Mandlikova who at that stage was the more experienced player.
First point, best of 3.
15 love.
Hana doesn't like the first call. She circles the mark.
You check the mark, please.
And Joyce is asking the lines person behind Steffi. Now, they call it through the line, as you can see.
I think that's very tough, Cliff. I really don't agree with that calling that far along through the net. I think it's just too far. You know, now they got to, that thing's either got to be one, there's got to be a quarter an inch one way or the other. You can't pick that from, you know, what is that, 60 feet away?
Yeah.
Through the net?
She changed her mind. Here's the second serve.
About 15.
Well done. Mandlikova immediately declares herself at the net. Graf comes up with the early answer. I'm still thinking about that first point, Fred. You're so right. Here's the call is made, and a woman from the other side of the court has to wander over and check a call. That looks silly.
In defense of why they do it, of course, it's clear that they don't want to be obstructed by the player, and I guess the officials feel that that's a good balance.
Well, in defence, it's actually that they don't have a full complement of linesmen. They're just too. They're too short. That's what it is. They've got the people on the baselines, the service line. They've got a roving service linesman.
That was a beauty.
But by and large, they do a great job. I'm not criticising the umpires. I'm just criticising the fact that that's too far to call.
Nevertheless, it is done a lot, Fred, even when they do have a full complement, and I don't think it's because they have lucky people. That is long, so Steffi Graf holds on to serve first game of this best-of-3 set match. We'll be back. One game to love Steffi Graf. Hana's first serve game of the match.
You see Hana's knee wrapped up there. That's not a brace. It's just some tape, a very minor strain. She said just from last week at Hilton Head, she said it shouldn't bother her. It doesn't really bother her much at all.
Very so much depends on this second serve, and it was interesting to see in the first point on Hana's serve, she served and volleyed on second serve.
This is something that that's the first of the day, and I think that's going to be a big thing to worry about for Hana Mandlikova. Keeping those double faults to a minimum against Graf, but she pressures you so much, Graf, that you tend to get nervous on the serve.
She took that long self-imposed exile, 6 months off last year, and she said she was just fed up, wasn't playing good tennis. Her hamstring had been bothering her for a couple of months, getting her down mentally, wasn't happy on the circuit, and she said that's not the right attitude. But it sure is a nice attitude when she says that she took the time off and she feels that she can play a few more years as a result. She says, I'm only 27, I could play till I'm 32.
First serve.
That's what she said her divorce was all about, Cliff. She'd been married for 2.5 years until last year when her husband asked for a divorce. The main thing Hana says about it, she said, the main thing was that when we got married, I was thinking of playing for only another 2 or 3 years, but I have since decided that I'm going to play for another 5 years.
I mean, according to her, he wanted to settle down and have a family, and she couldn't do them both.
Deuce.
And she was upset, wasn't she, by suggestions that she had got married in order to get Australian citizenship. I think that is an overreaction to her personal problems because, as she said, she could have taken out citizenship most anywhere anyway.
She was smart. She found out that Australia was a pretty good place to live.
Deuce.
Beautiful drive. It's not easy to get Graf on the run and hitting defensively, but Hana did well there. The big flat forehand.
Game Mandlikova.
So, Mandlikova holds on to serve one game more for a set. Mary, Mike Yestep, I always thought he did a heck of a lot for Martina when he started out with her. Seems like he has helped Hana as well.
Yeah, they're new coaches. You know, Hana had Betty Stova for so long as a coach, for 8 years, and she said, now that she has got Mike, she says, I'm only going to have 2 coaches in my career. I want this to last a long time.
15
There's
love.
her second ace of the match, Graf's. And she said that, you know, all the time spent with Betty Stova, who, by the way, is here this week and will continue to be her business manager and comes to the Grand Slams. She said it took a lot out of Betty all those years.
Just wild.
30 love.
And it's funny, Mike Estep was always very tight-lipped about strategy. He wouldn't tell us yesterday how Hana was going to approach playing Graf. But he said, well, if I were playing Graf, I'd serve and volley. So that pretty much answers the question. I think that's the thing to do for Hana.
It's a great angle on that forehand from where Graf was outside that doubles alley and just with firm wrist. Beautiful shot.
Game one.
2 games to 1, Steffi Graf in the first set of this best-of-3 live coverage of the Bausch and Lomb. Isn't it? This is the women's clay court season. Amelia Island is, well, the second tournament really, and then you go to Tampa, Houston, the German, Italian, Berlin, Geneva, and the French Open, and you wonder why they zero in on the Grand Slams. $1.8 million and then some. And, of course, the men's season starts at just about the same time and also goes through the French Championships, and everybody goes to England and plays on grass in preparation for Wimbledon.
Ooh, second serve ace, the first of the match. If Hana remembers the last time she played Graf here, which was in the final a couple of years ago, she'll remember that her serve was broken 5 times and she had 7 double faults, and that's really what cost her the match. It's interesting that Hana feels the serve is her main weapon, yet it's not been reliable for her through the years. Yet that is what she needs.
15 off.
Broken 7 times, and it's going to annoy anybody, isn't it?
Yeah.
Left, second serve.
Watch how much Graf is going to be dancing around on these second serves. She's so tough on first serves. Second serve, she just gobbles up.
15-30.
And there's her second.
Big serve. Get back to 30 all.
Flat and true. I just want to follow up on what you said, Cliff, about how everyone points from the French then onto the grass at Wimbledon.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they can both move, can't they?
Well, I think that's when you said she thinks her strength is the serve. I think her movement is the other thing that she has that's good.
And her shot making, surely. She's very, very good on the run, but of course no one is as strong on the run as Steffi Graf. No one's as powerful. What I was going to say is that Yannick Noah points so much towards the French Open that he bags Wimbledon every year. He's going to be on a boat with his girlfriend come over and said there's no way I can prepare for 2 Grand Slams on 2 different surfaces like that in so short a time. It's really a 1-month turnaround.
Less than that.
Game Graf.
Steffi Graf breaks serve 3-1 in the first set. Borg won the French and Wimbledon back-to-back 3 times, but not many people can do it, and it is an interesting thing. They have tried for years to find a way to get the French to be played a little earlier or Wimbledon played a little later so that there is more preparatory time for Wimbledon, but it's not easy to do with the calendar as jammed as it is. Graf, 3-1, first set.
15 love.
Terrific variety, doesn't she? And she has such a good feel for where you are on the court at the time as well, Steffi Graf. That drop shot played at exactly the right moment. She has more than just the shots now. She has the court craft. 30 love.
Hana has proven in the last couple of points that you've got to be alert against her. She makes quick moves herself. Look at that. Out of nowhere. Boom. That's why Chris Evert didn't feel like playing Mandlikova at Indian Wells a couple of weeks ago. I mean, this stuff just flies off of her strings and there's no reply. Of course, Graf is known for that kind of behavior as well.
Just going to say, Mary, it's a copybook picture of Steffi in isolation there. She lines up for one of these big overheads, but both players on second serves are just going for broke.
Game point.
No.
And Hana says no, it is good. Game Graf, the umpire calls, so that'll do it. 4-1, easily so far for Graf in the first. Trailing 1-4 in the first set. Represents only 1 serve break, though.
This is really Mandlikova's big chance, is to try to win from the net. The smash is returned. And again, but that one goes long.
It's interesting, both players respect the first serve. They're just trying to block the first serve back, and Steffi in both these first 2 points. But then the next one, boy, wind up and go for it.
Second ace.
It's pretty, isn't it? So simple, so hard and flat.
Mandlikova holds on 4-2 first set. Hana bought a house during her sabbatical in Antwerp, Belgium. She says that she likes to be there because it's close to Holland, where she has a lot of friends. And of course she has a place in Australia as well. Is it good to have somebody quite this dominating in the sport, Mary?
I think it's all you can do is applaud this kind of effort, I think. I mean, it's a pity that she's a class above the rest. Boy, that smash got under her, didn't it? But the Graf was asked the same thing the other day, Cliff. Someone said to her, you know, do you feel sorry when you kill these people? And she says, look, you know, I hope that they rise to my level. But what she's basically saying is, you don't want me to lower mine, do you?
Left 30.
Well-played shot there, and went straight forward onto that one and got it before the ball got up too high. Met the ball square on, just the angle, just the right angle that she wanted, and Hana, as quickly as she moves, had no chance.
$15.30.
Quite interesting as far as practice is concerned. When we were coming up here at 10 o'clock this morning, Steffi Graf was going back to her condominium. She'd already finished practice with the coach Pavel Slozil. They practiced for about 50 minutes from 9 o'clock till 10 of 10.
Well, Mandlikova's had her chances in this game, hasn't she? That forehand at 15.30 was a big one. Now it is game point for Graf.
This is the game, you're right, that she'll remember about this first set.
And that ace will put her ahead, or was it an ace? Let's see.
I think Hana found the right mark. That's how I saw it. I saw it on the line but long.
I'm going to have to go with this call on that one.
But the umpire wants to go with the call. She will, and she's the final authority. 5-2, Graf, first set. We'll be back. Amelia Island, Florida, live coverage. The owner and chairman of Amelia Island is Dick Cooper, and he's recovering from knee surgery. We hope you are doing well. Sabatini is through to the semifinals, as you see. That's how things look. Graf is playing Mandlikova. She's the number one seed, of course. Then Wiesner, Judith Wiesner of Austria will play Sanchez of Spain. Later today, Rinaldi and Navratilova will also play.
Right.
In the change over there, Mandlikova said to the umpire, chair umpire, well, that's very poor because the ball was on the line, but it was long. And I'd already given up one ace.
Love 15.
And she said, please don't say you're sorry, because that doesn't make any difference.
She was upset. I mean, I agree with the chair that that would be too tough to overrule, but Hana could have been on serve here at 3-4. She'd won that point in the game instead of being down 5-2.
Well, it would have got it back to deuce anyway, so
yeah.
There's no guarantee, but it could have happened, as you say.
15-0.
Where she really had her chances there with 15-30, that big forehand that she hit long. Two 5-15 all.
30-15.
Steffi Graf hasn't lost a tournament this year, and remarkably in the final at Washington, here's a record. She won 20 straight points against Zina Garrison in the final. Game point. By the way, they were the first 20 points of the match, so she led the match 5-love.
Zina recovered a lot. She acquitted herself quite well after that. But
6-1, 7-5.
What a start.
Let's face it, Steffi Graf talking about how great she is in the record books. I just don't think anybody's going to be near her for the next 3 or 4 years. Not within a bull's roar, as they say.
Deuce.
Mandlikova did a good job of maintaining her balance off of a very tough lob. She is coming in. And again, look, she has to go back quite a bit. She doesn't put an awful lot of power behind it because she can't, but it was beautifully directed.
Vintage Mandlikova, that, because that was hit a good 8 feet behind the service line, so that's a pretty tough overhead to hit for a winner.
Right off the line.
Yep.
Wow. Nice bold play from Hana. Again, obviously she wants to get in there. Played a very tough volley here. I'm sure she didn't want it to just skim off the paint like that, but she's happy for it. No play from Graf.
Serving for the set at 5-3 now.
First serve.
Just one service break. Both players have served well.
But Graf has only lost 4 points so far in her serve games.
Served 4 aces as well.
15-love.
That's been the difference where Mandlikova's going for broke on that first serve, whereas Graf is showing more respect on the first serve. She's quite happy just to chip that forehand or backhand back into play and then take the rally from there.
A year ago, Sabatini beat Steffi Graf in the semifinals here and then lost in the final to Martina. This is a quarterfinal round match. Correction. Well done. You had a good look at that one, Fred. It was, I could tell from here, and I'm a long way from it. It was clearly in, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Pretty much inside the line, that one. And he corrected it immediately.
40 love.
Not making any kind of dent in Graf's service games.
Set point. First. More than balanced by the 4 aces she served. Still set point.
Ladies long, and Steffi Graf, the #1 seed here, #1 player in the world, has won the first set against Hana Mandlikova. Won a slew of doubles tournaments along with Tomas Smid of Czechoslovakia, and he's Graf's coach.
30 doubles titles. With Smid alone.
I'm talking big ones too, because he won the WCT finals in London, Albert Hall, twice.
15 love.
Heck of a player.
Hana's had a couple of big problems against Steffi in the first set. Of course, the serve is the single biggest problem, 42% to Graf's 72. And of course, Graf has had twice the winners nearly. But it's holding serve. I mean, if you can't stay with Graf, if you can't hold your serve, you've got no chance, obviously.
Wasn't that one-sided a set, though, was it? At one point, she had a chance to come back and break Steffi, 15-30 in one game. And when she lost her serve, it wasn't a disaster. And that's all that Graf needed was one break. Game point.
One game to love, Mandlikova in the second set. She lost the first 6-3. One game to love, Mandlikova in the second set. Graf serving.
15 love.
What a difference a first serve makes for Hana as she checks another service line and decides it's correct. After a 42% first serve percentage in that first set, she came out in the spanky new second set, pumped in 4 first serves and won it at love. And very obviously, that's what she has to continue to do.
Also, she's got to block a few back on that forehand side, Mary. She's going for that big forehand from the first court.
You think she's looking for it right now? Look at that. Still didn't get it.
She still speaks Czech.
That actually meant it wasn't a very well hit forehand.
Hits that forehand with a continental grip, doesn't she? And that hurts her sometimes. The ball flies on her, as against Steffi Graf's got a very much eastern toward western grip on the forehand, so she hits the ball further out front. Hana's forehand's a little late.
He uses an eastern grip on it, though.
Oh! 40-15.
Second double from Steffi. Game point still.
Game Graf. 1-all.
One game all, the AT&T Challenge on ESPN. 2 groups of 4. April 26th, we will start our coverage through the Sunday. Some outstanding players will compete. You've got Lendl and then Agassi. You've got Michael Chang, young Michael Chang of now U.S. Davis Cup fame. Yannick Noah will be there. Tim Mayotte, Gilbert, and Kriegstein will be there for 5 days, Wednesday through Sunday in Atlanta.
Love 15.
Risky forehand that though, Fred, isn't it?
Very risky, yep.
And anytime you get the wrist involved in the forehand, sometimes you play well, sometimes it gets away from you.
It's a natural shot, but I think it's very difficult for Hana to try and out-hit Steffi Graf, and at times that's what she appears to be doing, rather than just stroking the ball, trying to use Steffi Graf's pace to her advantage rather than try and out-hit the forehand, the pace from the Graf forehand.
Let's face it, Hana's entire game is on the edge. It could be a very low percentage type game if her timing isn't there, her footwork, her balance, her mind.
Oh, yeah. But when she's good, she's awfully good when it all works.
When she's good, there aren't too many people I'd rather watch play this game. It's so good to have Hana back.
30-15.
Have another look at this now. Now watch how daring she is. She had to slide into that volley, make a feather volley off a tough Graf shot there, and it all came together for her.
Went down twice.
Yeah, tried to recover again, and it just didn't happen. She's going to have to dust off a little bit.
30-all.
More injury to her hands more than anything else. The first one, she stretches and slips on that line there, gets up, recovers, goes for the next one down on her right knee, and the left knee followed, and she's broken the skin pretty much on both knees. It came over and was more worried about the hands hitting the clay.
We've talked about this, Fred, about Hana. You know, she hates being termed a fragile player, and that's what so many of us use to describe her game. Mentally, emotionally, but physically, even she admits that she's fragile. She's had so many injuries. Not that spill was anything dramatic. But what I'm trying to say is that earlier this year, Hana, because she had been missing from the women's tour so much, had to fill out a new player questionnaire. And there was a line for major career injuries, and Hana wrote back, comma, heel, comma, hamstring, comma, and then she just wrote, not enough room. She could have gone on and on.
That is a great shot, and Steffi Graf at break point has broken serve, 2-1 and 1 set to love.
2-1.
Steffi Graf won the first set easily, as you see, leads it 2-1 behind a serve break. Now, Hana, as you saw go down there, she did hurt her knees, and you can see it right there during the changeover, both bleeding. By the time we took that picture, the right one looked a little better, but at one point it was dripping down her right leg.
Still, it's not the worst of her problems. Mandlikova needs to break to get back into this match and have any kind of play. And the bad news that it's now been 6 service games for Steffi Graf, and she's lost 7 points. She's still smiling over this one, Mandlikova, and why not? She really had to tear just to get to this shot. Had to make a lunge. Just made its way over.
Low 15.
That approach shot not quite deep enough, and Mandlikova had to guess. Couldn't just stand there in the middle of the court. She went for the cross court. Graf went for the down the line.
It's a risk you take when you chip and charge on second serve, isn't it?
Exactly.
Very unlucky, well played point. Notice when after she hit that drop shot, she did not move back, she moved forward. That's a good play. Close the options for the incoming player. That's terrific.
We always speak about Steffi Graf's foot speed, but Hana, watch how prettily she's able to move so well, in fact, that she can take a full-bodied swing at this backhand for a winner. You can't do that if you're not there. And again, Fred, she's just going for too much, I think, on those serves, huh? She's got to get the ball in play.
Yeah, she's got to take a little bit more off it. She's checking that mark. That was a very deep second serve. Just caught the back edge of the line.
Game point. Steffi holds on to serve. 3-1. Here's how things look. We have one semi-finalist. Gabriela Sabatini finished just moments before this match started. She'll play the winner of the Rinaldi Navratilova match to be played later today. You're watching Steffi Graf and Mandlikova, and the winner of that match will play Judith Wiesner, as you could see, or her opponent.
Rancho Sanchez.
From Spain.
Graf does not like to make errors off second serves. That's the wildest forehand she's hit this match.
Left second serve.
This is a quarterfinal women's singles match. Hana Mandlikova playing Steffi Graf. Graf won the first set 6-3, leads at 3-1. It is the Bausch and Lomb Championship from Amelia Island, Florida. I'm Cliff Drysdale with Mary Carrillo. Fred Stoll is at courtside. 30-15.
Nice way to come off her fourth double fault.
40-15.
And again, close. I'm sure that's what her coach, Mike Estep, told Hana to do against Graf. Pressure her. Force the issue from the net. Of course, that's so difficult to do against not only Graf's passing shots, but even her return, which is so menacing, so sinister.
Graf still out front, 3-2 in the second set, 1 set to love. Mandlikova won her first Grand Slam tournament at the Australian Open in 1980. In 81, she won the French. And then in 85, she won the U.S. Open. And then she came back and won the Australian Open in 87. Terrific effort from her. So she's won 4 Grand Slams, 3 of them at different venues. She just hasn't won Wimbledon. But she trails 3-2 in the second.
That's what's keeping her around, she says.
To win Wimbledon.
She wants that one in her pocket. Then she'll have won all 4 Grand Slams, and very few players in tennis have done that.
Sport, Mary, is riddled with people who have dominated the sport for long periods of time. For example, Connors did it for 5 years, and then you had Borg, you had Laver in his day, you had Margaret Court, Little Mo Connolly before her. Great shot. And now in women's tennis you have Steffi Graf. It's not so surprising. It's just repetition of what's gone before.
I think the problem some people have with Steffi's utter dominance is that they're so used to, over the last 15 years, the great Martina-Chris rivalry. And these days, let's face it, no one is this woman's rival.
Much more intelligent game this time from Mandlikova. She's kept the ball in play until she's got the shot that she wanted.
3 break points.
15-40.
They can be stiffening up on her a little bit.
I guess they sprayed that like instant skin, isn't it? Stops the bleeding in a moment. It's great stuff.
Look at that.
Not too stiff on that.
Isn't that the truth? Look at the court positioning of Hana when she decides to totally surprise Graf by volleying that ball. She was well beyond the service box. Almost really. Look where she is. She's almost on the baseline when she makes that volley.
3/4 court and got a great angle on it.
Breaker serve. 3 games all now.
Just what
back on serve, second set.
And really, it just shows, although that didn't work, that you almost have to be that bold and that daring and go for that kind of play against Steffi.
About 30.
Tough when you get back to even at 3-all and think, well, I'm in this second set now. take a little bit off your shot, as she did off that backhand.
Line ball. No. Neither one of them played that badly.
See where Graf played that forehand from, because it was a great slice cross-court backhand from from Mandlikova, and Graf was there to hit the forehand.
Break point.
These two are skimming over the court today. I don't think there's any clay on the bottom of their shoes.
Not much you can do, is there? Power of Steffi Graf has got her ahead again with the break. 4-3 in the second set. She won the first 6-3. Bausch and Lomb, live from Amelia Island. Left of your screen, Mike Estep.
And Greta Garbo.
In the front. Mike Estep with the sunglasses.
Good to see him at the matches. I'll tell you, I think it's a tribute to Mike and, of course, to Hana that she's recovered her form so quickly after such a long layoff.
I have a lot of respect for him as a coach. I really do. I think he helped Martina tremendously when he took her over originally. I know you have some disagreement with this, Mary, but I think he told her to do exactly the right thing, which is chip and charge. And he gives his players a game plan.
Right. Oh, he's a great coach. No two ways about that. I just think in the last couple of years, Martina has changed her serve too much with too many coaches, and I think that is the absolute cornerstone of her game, and she's horsed around with it too much. And I think it changed during Mike, and it changed a bit during Tom Gullickson, and she's still trying to change it a bit this year. And once she sorts that out, I think she'll be fine. Once she gets to be a bigger lefty server, the good old lefty style slicing and stuff that she used to do so well.
I fully agree with that. A la John McEnroe. His service come back. What made the difference in his game, and as you say, that is what could make the difference in hers. I'm convinced of that.
Speaking of Martina, at the 85 U.S. Open that Hana won, where she beat both Chris and Martina to take that title, that was the most exciting tennis of the year for me. 85 U.S. Open, boy.
Oh! 40-30.
Game point.
Boy, that was close. Just missed by no more than half an inch. Half an inch long, that makes a big difference. That's game point the other way.
So Graf holds on.
She leads 5-3.
5-3 in the second set. 6 for Steffi Graf, but remember, she's only 19. Mandlikova has 4.
That first one, the Australian, came way back in 1980 where she beat Wendy Turnbull. Then, of course, she won the Australian again. She beat Martina in the last final at Kooyong Stadium, 5-6. At the French, she beat Sylvia Hana. And, of course, that U.S. Open title we just talked about where she had to beat both Everett and Navratilova to win. So she is more accomplished than I think most people tend to give her credit for. And yet, because she's so brilliant, we all have expected more from her.
15 love.
Trailed 3-5 here in the second set and won the first set 6-3. I should say lost the first set 6-3. Third ace.
And again, a short, compact motion, and she likes the flat ball. She hits hard and flat in every department of her game. Another one. Same spot to the deuce court. What a difference it makes to this woman when she gets her first serve in.
4 aces for Graf, 3 for Mandlikova. Game point.
Five games to 4 for Graf in the second. When we come back, she'll serve for the match.
Carol Johnson, or who you refer to as Greta Garbo anyway, enjoying the matches today. Behind them, of course, coach of Mandlikova, Mike Estep and his wife.
15 love.
Serving for the match to get into the semi-finals of the Bausch and Lomb. Steffi Graf, 15 love. Took a little informal poll, Mary, of people who interested in our sport coaches, and I said, who's going to be the #1 women player after Steffi Graf? Answer,
And the
3 out of
answers?
4, Monica Seles, 15-year-old Yugoslavian.
That's looking down the line.
It is.
She sure is good.
Who knows?
I think there'll be other people at the #1 spot before Monica Seles.
Well, they may be, but if so, who? You know, can Gabriela do it? Can Martina come back? It's an interesting question.
It is. It's a great topic. It's absolutely true. I think it's the same in men's tennis. Who's going to... Well done. Right on top of the net for that one, Hana. And she continues, even at match game, to press.
30 off.
She's got Steffi way behind the baseline and comes in off a tough approach. Look at the depth on that. The length is what got her so close to the net.
30 all. Only one serve game that Steffi Graf was in trouble on, and she lost her serve here in the second set. This is match point. match point.
A lively fight from Hana Mandlikova, but Steffi Graf wins 6-3 behind one service break, and in the second set, 6-4. There were 3 breaks, 2 of them against Mandlikova, 1 against Graf. So Graf is in the semifinals, and she will play the winner of the Wiesner-Sanchez match. We'll be back with an interview in a moment. The player is through to the semifinal of the Bausch & Lomb here on Amelia Island, and she's at courtside with Fred Stolle. Fred?
Steffi, congratulations. Not too many rallies in that one.
No, not really. I mean, it's always hard to play against Hana because she really takes the ball out and takes the risks to make the winners, and I'm basically trying to do the same. So it's really hard to get into rhythm and to have some rallies.
First set, 4 aces. You served particularly well the first set, not so well the second set.
Yeah, true. In the second set, I was mainly making second serves. I just didn't have the right feeling then again, and no, maybe I was not really taking too much time on the serve, concentrating enough on it.
Every time Hana missed a first serve or you missed a first serve, it was big forehand from both of you.
Yeah, we both try to always take the chance and try to go for it. And you know, at the end, that was what I won the game with, because she was missing just a few of them.
I think Hana felt that she had to get to the net at most opportunities today, although Steffi Graf did not venture towards the net today.
I know I can do it a little bit more, but just don't feel comfortable enough yet. And then once in a while, I know I have to, and I was trying on the match point to serve and volley. But it comes sometime, I hope.
Your next match, Arantxa Sanchez or Judith Wiesner, any choice?
Well, I know it's pretty much going to be Arantxa Sanchez, and that's a rematch of the last weeks in Hilton Head, and we had some really good points, a great match, and I see it's going to be tough. I mean, I have to run a little bit more, I guess.
Looking forward towards the French. This is really the start of the clay court season. You have not lost a match this year. What tournaments are you playing leading up to the French?
Well, I'm going to play another 2 tournaments. It's going to be in Hamburg and Berlin. Leaving after this tournament, after almost 10 weeks, I'm going to leave home. And just those 2 tournaments, and then finally the French.
Make sure those dogs don't bite your hand anymore.
Excuse me?
Make sure those dogs don't do any injury to your hand anymore.
No. I'm trying to avoid that. Yeah, okay.
Well, congratulations. Look forward to seeing you further down the line this week.
Thank you.
Back up to you, Cliff.
Thank you, Fred. Interesting to hear from her, isn't it? She's a confident young lady, and why not? She's a Grand Slam winner, and she's in the semi-final here of the Bausch & Lomb Championships on Amelia Island.